Hello and g'day! Today I'm going to show you how to make this scrappy staggered booklet. My name is Donna. I've done a bit of digging to see what I could make this month for all you ladies because I wasn't feeling really well. So my ideas were not coming out as easy as they normally do. So I was looking for a shortcut. I got my inspiration from Roxy Creations. She's made a booklet, Shabby Dabby Doodah. I don't think there's anything that Tina hasn't made, honestly. So she's made a staggered booklet as well. And even Gail used her scraps and made something similar. Rhonda without an H. She was the first one I found. Rhonda made it because she saw Natasha make it from Treasure Books. So this is my version of Natasha's version of the scrappy staggered booklet. Now I've made a pattern because it's just got a little pocket and a window at the front. Now this is for those of you who just find it much easier to follow a pattern and instructions. It's free for my Facebook members and it's available in my shop if you're not a member or don't use Facebook. Now I do have the cut file and an FCM cut file available in my shop as well. And the challenge is to make the scrappy staggered booklet. Now the theme I'm going to be doing today is city life. This is going to be because we're doing a challenge within the Facebook group, and the challenge is to make out of any paper you want. Well, I've chosen mine and it's going to be just all these city photos, so that'll be my cover. You can pick anything you like as long as it's sort of got a city theme. If you don't have any city theme style papers, just use something a bit plainer. You can actually add to a plain piece of paper that will make it look a bit more city looking. I'll be using this for my cover and various pages which I'll show you shortly. Now I'll just cut out my cover out of this and I'll be back in a minute. I've cut out my pattern piece. We'll bring back the template. You should have yours cut out, right? So I'm just going to sit my pattern back on here, line it up and find the two lines that I need to score. And I'll just put a little pencil mark there. Then I'm going to shimmy it up at the bottom here, line it up at each side and mark those red lines back on to my cover again. If where you need to score doesn't fall into place, like when you put it right in the corner, move it over just a tiny bit until your pencil line falls on a notch. And then just score that notch line. All right. Same on this one here. I've got a notch line there. If it doesn't fall into line when it's in the corner, just move it across ever so slightly until it lines up with one of the notches and then just gently. I'm not pressing too hard. This one's got a nice little ball on the end of it so it doesn't rip down into the paper too hard. So it just gives me a really nice score line. The window that I've used in here is just an envelope. Just make sure that when you do pick your envelope that it's bigger than this cut space here. So you'll see there that I know that this one here is bigger than that. So as long as it's bigger, this is all good to use. So just neatly cut around the edge, just enough for you to glue it behind that opening. I'm going to use the paper to glue it down into place. So now there's my window. So my window has to stay inside these two score lines, which it does, and inside the top and the bottom, which it does. So let's glue that down first, and this way then across the top, because I don't want any of this to interfere with my tag when I go to slide it in. So I'm gluing a little bit closer to the window side and the outside. I'll turn that over and I'll pop it in place. This is why I love using envelopes, recycling the windows, because they're perfect for this project. Right, now, score lines. Grab them in the middle, put your fingers there and spread out. That's that one. Same, fold it there, put your fingers in the middle and spread out. Get your bone folder and iron it down. And iron it down. If you've got any little marks on your window, clean them up now, because we're now ready to glue down the pocket. So that's the back, that's the front of the cover. The cover is shorter than the back. Okay, and because we've already cut the thumb hole, if you cut straight across the top, you grab your punch and cut your thumb hole out. Now before I glue that down, I'm going to distress ink everything. I'm going to use the Vintage Photo. I'll finish doing that and I'll be back in a minute. Right, I've finished distress inking my cover and I'm ready to glue my pocket in place. I need to glue it so that it stays down. I want to have it so that it's a top loading pocket. So I'm going to just glue down that side and across the bottom. I'm using Art Glitter Glue. It dries clear. It's a very strong glue. It dries very quickly. So once it's down to stay. Fold it over and hold it in place. So there's that cover done. This one here for the cover, I used my large tag. I've got the pattern for you here for this one. The link is also below for this. So you can either cut that off or fold it and make a pocket. So if we were to glue that down here, I've got an instant pocket at the back of my book. I could have put a thumb hole in there, and I probably should. So we've got our thumb hole there now. That can be distressed inked, the edges. Fold it in half, and there's my cover. I haven't staggered this cover. I've left it short at the front and the back, because that way I get to see my staggered pages at the back and at the front. And when I slip this into the pocket of my journal, it's going to look really cool when I get it out and go to use it. So I'll come back and show you this one when I've finished it with my stamps that I've used, my blank stamps, and I'll get the pages ready to put inside the cover. You can use any of these printable tea-dyed papers. You can use proper tea-dyed papers. You can use your notepads that have been tea-dyed. You can use your deli paper that has been distressed or stenciled. You can use a printed vellum and fold that in half. And that looks pretty cool there. You don't want to put too much more than that in there. There's a lot of pages for a little book that hasn't got a spine. You've got to remember that this has not got a spine. So if you overload it with too many pages, it will be too bulky. So I'll put that pin there to show you that it's about there when it's got that many pages in it. And you can use plain white copy paper if you don't have anything else. You've got these little doilies. They don't have to be round. You can use these square ones. The parchment paper is great. It looks good ripped. You can use vintage. This is a real vintage receipt, unused, and it looks nice with one of these little doilies on it. So if you had this one, this would look really cool just peeking out from there. But just experiment with, this is how you do it. You just experiment with how far you want it to come out, and you just have that little bit of lace. Otherwise, use a piece of paper like this and get your edge punch and punch your own pattern down the side of one of the pages. That works really well as well. What else have I got? If you've got some printed papers, you can use them as well. And as long as they've got the theme that you want to put in your book. Some other page ideas are just a book, a smallish book. Go to a vintage book and get something out of that. These are ideal for these small little makes. So there's one more idea. These little notepads that are perfect. You just fold in half and make a little page out of them. You can use these type of books to go and find something with a little bit of interest in it. I used this one here in this one. So I pulled a page out of that and turned it into one of the staggered pages here. That looks really cool. And I've got this little travel book that I picked up from the op shop, and it's really great for little booklets. So I've got a page, it's just a single page. If you've got one of those machines that cut these, cut one of those, grab one of those and cut it down the side of one of your pages. That adds some nice interest as well. I've used mine here because this page here was just too short, so it ended there. So it would have been all right because I have a long page and then a short page, because that's what this staggered look is all about. But what I've done is I got this page, which didn't have a double page, and I just glued it on the top of that. So that then gave me the look I want for the other side of this page. So when it's turned over, you see that pattern there on the edge. So there are so many different ways that you can use things in your booklet. There's a deli paper with no ink on it, no pattern, nothing. There's no right or wrong. You can make things with whatever you've got. This is a page out of our yellow pages here in the Australian phone directory. And I've used that because I thought it was a little bit to do with the city. When we go to the city, we go shopping. So if you haven't got any tea-dyed papers yourself at home, like I've got my own papers that I've tea-dyed here, so you haven't dyed any yourself, you can get them online. I got these from Tuesday Moriarty. She's got these available. I'll put the link below. So we'll use this one here. I've printed it out with this pattern on this side and this pattern on this side. The reason I've done that is because I'm putting this little booklet together, which has got a lot of pinks in it. So I like the idea of having something with a bit of pink in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out, right, do I want this to be narrow and fold it there? If I do that, I know it's going to have 1/2 inch at the top and 1/2 inch at the bottom. So if I want it to be wider, I just fold it there, which I'll do that. Right, now you can either cut it or you can rip it. So if you want the rip look, just work out where you want it ripped and rip that straight down there. Now you can have it cut on one end and ripped on the other. You don't have to rip both ends, but if you do want to rip it and it's already a narrow piece, the way I find it works is if you put your ruler on the short end here, just a little bit, and hold that really firm, you can pull the long end up and shimmy your fingers down here on the ruler, holding it really firm, and you can rip that off. So you can have then a ripped edge on both sides. Now I'm ready to show you how to put some scrappy pages in there. Now this one here, I've used a few different pieces of paper and scraps of odds and ends. So we have got ourselves a scrappy staggered booklet, and that's the whole idea of it, to be scrappy and staggered. This piece here, all it is a piece of tea-dyed paper folded down the centre, and this front piece is shorter than the back piece, and that then becomes the first piece you see here. Then I got a offcut out of my scrap pile, which is just an offcut of a book page, and I sat that in there. This is just a single page that I got out of my stationery notebook, so that's perfect to just fold in half and make a little page. This piece here is just the top of a tea-dyed note. I got this out of a notebook, you know, just the exercise books we use here in Australia. So I've just tea-dyed that and cut that down. And this is the offcut, the top part of a paper bag that I used to make a mini album a couple of videos ago. So I ended up with quite a few of those. So when I cut them off to make the pages for my album, all I done was grab one of these and fold it in half. So when you fold that in half, you've got a page. So if you've got any offcuts of things like that, they make perfect pages. So whatever you've got, get a hold of them and fold them in half, make them all scrappy and staggered, and when you put them in, put one higher, one lower, one out, one in, and have them so that you can see all different pages that way, and that way. Okay, so I can see a little bit of that one there, see a little bit of that one there, and the brown paper bag looks good poking out at the top. We've chatted enough about how to stagger the pages. It's time to move on and sew them in. I'll clear this up and I'll be back in a minute. It's time to sew in our scrappy signatures. You haven't heard me say signatures before? That's what your pages are. This is a one signature little scrappy book, right? That is one signature. A group of pages put together, whether they're all neatly stacked or they're staggered, is one signature. Whether it's 3 pages, 4, 5, or 6, if they're in a group like this, it's called a signature. This is our cover. We're going to put the signature in the cover and we're going to put stitches in here. Now I've done this one here so you can see what I'm talking about. See if I can make this sharp. there's 2 stitches, so we're only going to put 2 stitches in. If you've got a long reach stapler, you can use a stapler to just go in, clip, clip, and put 2 staples in there. I do it from this side, so you've got the pretty side of the staple on the outside, as long as you line them up straight in the center. But I want you to learn how to do binding. Doing things like this are going to get you out of your comfort zone. So don't staple. I want you to sew these in. You need either a pokey tool. What I call a pokey tool is this. It can look like this. It can be a needle. This is a really big needle used for sewing up Hessian sacks. It's got a big eye in it. That can be a pokey tool. Anything that's got a sharp point on it. You can use your needle that you use to bookbind with. This is strong enough to poke a hole for you to use to put your stitches in. We're using 3 holes. I'm giving you the pattern for the cover, right? There'll be no holes marked in the pattern because when you sew this, you have a choice as to where you want to put them. This is how I'm going to show you how I'm doing it today. This is a Tim Holtz ruler and it's got a center measurement. So here in the center is 0. Going this way is a 1, 2, 3. Going this way is a 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put my booklet in the center. So I've got the center is there at 0. And here finishes just at 2.5 and here at 2.5. So I know that's my center. I'm going to open my book just ever so slightly. I'm going to use this big needle today. And I'm going to close it just a little bit, and that needle is lined up right here where the 0 point is on the inside. Open, close until I am satisfied that I'm lined up. I'm going to push this needle through and there it is, it's coming out where the 0 is. See there? So I'm pushing that through. I'm still 2.5 and 2.5 there. Now I'm going to come back to the inside. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to come back and I'm going to eyeball my needle point from the inside about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to come back in here and I've got my needle nice and long so you can see it, and I'm eyeballing that point there but on the inside. And my book's nearly closed as I'm pushing that through, and there I come out at the 1.25 inch mark. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to eyeball that there and come out at the 1.25 inch mark. Okay, so there's my 3 stitch areas, my 3 stitch holes, and I'll get 2 stitches. I'm only going to go 1, 2. You don't need a real lot of thread. We're only putting in 2 stitches. I'm using blue because I want to match this here. This is a very old vintage embroidery thread, so it should work quite well. Now I'm going to start in the center with my book nearly closed, and I'm going to push it out. My needle will come from the inside to the outside and I'll just pull it through. I'll leave a tail here. Then because I'm right-handed, I'm going to come back through the hole at the bottom from the outside back to the inside. Going to pull that in and make sure my tail is right there. Then I'm going to miss the middle and come up to the next hole at the top, close my book again, and come out this hole to the outside again. So it looks like that. 1 long stitch missing the middle. Now if I close it and come back to here, I'm going to come back into this middle hole here. When I come back here, now I've got my stitches both on the one side. I'm going to put my needle under that long stitch and bring one to the other side. I don't need my needle threaded anymore, so I'm going to cut that off so it's easier to tie a knot. I'm not pulling my thread that way, I'm pulling it up and down along with the stitches, and I'm just going to tie a knot. You can tie a double knot, you can leave it just in one knot. There's your 2 stitches. If your holes are gaping a little bit, just close them with your fingers. See how they close up? Right. Get your bone folder and just give it a crease. When you're sewing in one lot of signatures like this, it's less stress on you. You don't have to worry about it being perfect. So it's just a scrappy little book to put in your junk journal. I've done this one here with a black upholstery thread. This one's the embroidery thread. And I've also done this one with a black upholstery thread. The black looks pretty good. It gives a nice contrast if you want to use it as a feature. If you don't want to use it as a feature, just use a natural colour that will, especially on this one, this natural colour would have disappeared. So if you're practicing and you don't want it to stand out, buy a neutral colour thread, and if your stitches aren't perfect, they won't show up. They'll disappear in the paper. So we have finished making a few different styles. They all turn out different. I'll just show you this one now with the tag. You sew it in exactly the same way. Like magic, here it is stitched in. I'll show you quickly how I use my blank stamps to embellish this cover and a page inside the booklet. These blank stamps are perfect that I'm going to use as a background. I've got these available on my website. I'll put the link below to these too. You just pull them apart on the sheet, and I'm going to just use them as backgrounds on here to add a bit of interest and build this up to somehow finish this off to be a city theme. Something like that could go on the front. Doesn't necessarily have to go on the inside. I put it on the inside because it's matchy and the blue thread. So just something a little fun to have on the inside. This one's easy. Just glue the picture on an angle. To make a tag, you can make it any style you want at the top. This one here, I've punched a pattern at the top using my tag punch. And this one here, I'll just very quickly make one with a tag style at the top. So you only want something narrow, don't make it too wide, it's just got to show up in the window here. Pretty much you all know how to make a tag. I'm just using my offcuts from a manila folder. We can put a sticker on it, which is just your hole reinforcer, or you can make your own little tag that would just slip down in there. That looks pretty cool. Homemade tags done in a matter of minutes. This one here, I just cut out a little picture, and then this City Life, I used the Letraset to put on over the top. And I used quite a heavy vellum. You can still see through it, but it just, you know, is something a little bit different than an opaque card. They still both work. They work very well. So have a go at making your own tags. You can make them any width and any height that you like. The challenge has been set. This is what we're making. Take your time. We're there to help you every day. Poke your head in the group. One of us, whether it's Jody, Elizabeth, Tuesday, or myself, will be there to help you. If you're a beginner, the challenge has been set. Learn how to sew. Learn about signatures. Handling the needle. Handling the pages. You can do this. I can't wait to see all your photos. I'm Donna. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon, side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right.